Malakai Black against Kyle O'Reilly. This match, I love this match. I thought this match was one of my favorite matches that AEW has put on in quite some time. I love this. And the first half of this, it's not like the crowd was into this, which didn't even bother me because like you were focused so much on like the striking battle, but this was to me kind of the core that I enjoyed about AEW was all these different styles. And every week they would tee up the lineups for the next week. And it was like, man, what is this match going to be like with this style versus this style? And just all this deep talent roster that you could mix and match. And this was a perfect example. Kyle O'Reilly and Malakai Black. And instead of finding some like pattern style to work, it was like, no, let's go out and let's do like a pseudo like K1 Max style of match. And that's what they did here. Like this was immediately the two are going for knees and they drop each other with liver shots. And Black is getting swept as he comes off the middle rope. Malakai Black is like checking leg kicks here. And Taz is just stating flat out, I love this. I think we need more of this. And he's comparing it to Pancrase. And I mean, Taz is just having the time of his life calling this. Excalibur's getting into it too. He's mentioning like Peter Arts and Ernesto Host. There's a dragon screw by Black and then puts pressure on the thigh, then goes for another dragon screw. But this time, Kyle O'Reilly is ready for it, blocking it as he tries for the arm bar, but can't get it. So he goes to knees from the clinch, does an arm wringer, sending Malakai's arm straight into the mat. And at this point, like again, this crowd was very subdued for this match. And all of a sudden, "This is awesome" chant begins out of nowhere.
I mean, I got the sense it was very much like a Japanese reaction where they were quiet, but they were also focused. You know, and technical wrestling, even though this wasn't like as submission heavy as like maybe our sort of definition of technical wrestling, this was technical striking wrestling. Yes. When you're focused on technique, you're not necessarily making noise. You are focused. You're watching every single leg kick. You're watching the blocks. You're watching the sort of patterns that they're setting up and the fake outs and everything. It was a very different style of match, but I think a very like smart one. And I thought the crowd was with them.
This felt like you were watching a like fight at the apex. And I don't even say that in a negative way, but especially early in the pandemic, it was like, okay, we're now watching fights in this different environment, but it was not the negative watching MMA because you're getting other aspects that kind of contributed to the presentation. And I did not think that the crowd was like, it didn't deter from this at all. And you could be very right that it was just the people were focused on this. But O'Reilly mounts him, but Black clasps the hands to block. So he moves to an ankle lock, and Black is balancing on one foot to get up and lands this jump knee and a brain buster, but only gets it's a 2 count. They get to their feet, and a spinning elbow rocks Kyle O'Reilly. The two simultaneously land head kicks, and both men are staggering. And this finish, Black feints a head kick and sets up the end and connects with it and pins him in 10 minutes and 17 seconds. This finish was incredible. I love this match. This was by far my match of the show by leaps and bounds. I hope they explore more of this kind of stuff because I thought this was such a just such a different presentation of a wrestling match.
You can't really do this match with too many people. You know, if you could,
Satnam Singh, Bryan Danielson should have been taking notes because this could have been topped in the main event.
You need people with like legit training backgrounds, at least, you know, in kickboxing in order to pull something like this off. And yeah. I feel like we would have seen like this from Malakai Black earlier if that was the case. I'm just glad that these two got to go out there and got to do something creatively fulfilling for the two of them without worrying so much about whether or not the crowd was going to get into it because this sort of thing was a risk, you know, like, I mean, doing a shoot style, essentially like kickboxing sort of simulation for a pro wrestling audience is not necessarily something that will immediately translate. We saw Shayna and Ronda try a version of shoot style and that completely failed. This was done, I think, in a much better way. Maybe the type of crowd kind of, you know, helped as well. But this was just like an incredibly like great pro wrestling adaptation of kickboxing techniques. the finish too, I absolutely loved.
It was
like it's the type of
such
one
a
where
smart, like just to think of that finish, I just thought it was great.
Yeah. Again, risky and requires so much like wonderful timing to make look real. Like you and I can anybody can probably write, okay, let's try to like, yeah, I'm gonna go for this kick. You're gonna mimic my pattern, and then I'm going to feint. You're going to, think I'm gonna kick you, and then I'm gonna go for the head. It's exactly like how like so many MMA sequences or kickboxing sequences would go. But to be able to replicate that and make it look real, knowing it's coming, it requires that much like incredible skill that I don't understand at all. So a huge credit to both of these men for doing something different, executing it flawlessly. And yeah, I'd love to see more of this stuff, navigated within the system, AEW, but how many people could pull it off this well?
Maybe not AEW, but I think like a blood sport, like this would be like so much of it. It's like high end
too. Like there aren't many people, I think. Well, again, who could put the wrestling
at this level? Probably not
put
too
the
many.
Pro wrestling with the shoot technique together. Like you have guys who come from one background. You have great like former MMA fighters who are able to kind of try professional wrestling. You have professional wrestlers who are maybe dabbling in MMA, but guys that can put it together this well, it's very rare, I think.
Well, and Kyle O'Reilly has shown he might be the very best in terms of like marrying all that together with like a pro wrestling kind of presentation around it all. But this
the Japanese blood sports show, I'm very interested in seeing. See if there's
just absolutely go out of your way to watch this match, even if you're not like super into like kickboxing. I think just to watch what they tried, and maybe this wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but it was definitely mine. And I just thought this was like, I was watching this and I was captivated from the beginning, and I just thought I felt like I was Taz during this match, and I think he just got it was a trip for him to be calling this. And then afterwards, we couldn't have more of a
Speaking of blood sport.
We go right back to our professional wrestling programming. The lights flicker as Malakai is left in the ring, and he gets torpedoed with a bloodbath. And this thing comes down like it was shot out of a cannon from the rafters. And all I could ever think watching this is the time in WCW that they did this and they missed the target and it dropped on the fans. And that is what I will give them credit. AEW, they hit the mark perfectly. Like this guy got hit on top and this thing did not stop. And this looked like this needed some blood thinners because there was like, I don't know what this concoction was made out of, but it looked like this person would need, I think, a blood transfusion if this is what was going through their veins.
This stuff looked more like a ragu in consistency. It was like rich and thick, but it looked great. I mean, if gore was sort of the intent, I mean, this completely achieved it. They certainly spared no expense in terms of volume here. So,
and they had a miraculous turnaround because the women's match was like only a few minutes after this. It's not like they had some extended backstage scene or
they had the
videos.
Danielson video, but I guess you're right. Like it is very impressive still. Great job, cleanup crew.
It's also worth noting, as I think about it, is that this Dynamite, yes, there was the Buck stuff backstage, but like there were no backstage interviews. We didn't see Renee or what was there? Arcady Aura. We didn't see, like, there was very little backstage stuff at all on this show. And granted, they had 7 matches and several in-ring segments to do, so there really was not the time for anything else. But Malakai is laid out via the bloodbath when Judgment Day Adam Copeland walks down a flight of stairs and looks into the camera. Be careful what you wish for. See you soon. And this was his full Judgment Day version that he was presenting here.
Not a very fondly remembered.
No. This brought me back to the era that I don't think is going to be the most remembered of Adam Copeland's WWE tenure.
Yeah, but he bought those. I'm sure he bought a bunch of suits for that character.
He did. He said he spent a ton on his wardrobe and stuff for the next several months of that.
Okay.
Angle.
Yeah. So I guess it was either this or playing his 1997 self with like the big smile and the glasses. And this, I guess, maybe better choice these days.
Is he finally going to get his Gangrel entrance on Sunday? I don't think they can get that Brood theme, but that was the pitch he was trying for, to try and get Gangrel for an entrance. And
I don't see why not. Like, what is Gangrel?
This is the time to do it. If you're going to do it in AEW, this is the match to do it.
But how? Well, what would Gangrel do though in this particular feud?
I think it was just for the entrance. That was it.
Just like hang out, just like stand here, split some blood for me.
Well, I don't know. I didn't know what was in his mind for the entrance. Maybe, like, I'm sure Gangrel would be more than happy to walk down with the chalice and spit blood and then walk to the back.
Okay, yeah, why not?
Probably won't get a Christian cameo with the other two, but
yeah. All right.
Timeless Tony Storm and Mariah May against Saraya and Harley Knight, with Zach Knight, who looks like the missing member of the Brawling Brutes now, with his hat and walking stick.
Does everybody there have like one of those hats? Like, is everybody there dressed like it's the 1920s? It's just that a common look there.
It's the look that has been established. It's the Chris Harrington fall line of AEW merch.